Hey everyone, Varuda bringing you another champion guide for League of Legends, and this time the focus will be on a champion of the highest caliber, Miss Fortune, the Bounty Hunter. This guide is going to focus on both the build and the playstyle of Miss Fortune in the 5v5 map setting, but keep in mind she can still be viable in 3v3 play. One of her greatest weaknesses is her natural lack of escapes, but if played correctly, her incredible power and AoE capabilities can easily turn those smaller team fights. So, to reiterate, these masteries, runes, and item choices are for the 5v5 setting. Let's go ahead and dive right into the masteries. There will be a link in the description that will take you to leaguecraft.com and you can see exactly what I've taken. I do take a 2109 build, where I focus heavily on the offensive tree with a small interest in the utilities trees, extra experience, boosted ghost summoner spell, and the extra duration of neutral buffs. For runes I take Armor Pin, Quints, and Reds, Yellow MP5 per level, and Ability cooldown reduction per level for my blues. The Armor Pin is the most bang for your buck on both your auto shots and your Q's damage, while the MP5 per level greatly helps you with your farming. The ability cooldown per level blues are my personal favorite, as they are more beneficial after level 13, right about the time you should be completing the majority of your build and feeling her power in the team fights. Let's go ahead and talk about Miss Fortune basics. People are naturally drawn to this champion, and I honestly couldn't tell you why. Maybe it's her huge cannons, maybe it's because they like pirates, and maybe it's because they hate chicken shit opponents that try to hide behind their creep waves. Personally, I enjoy playing Miss Fortune because she's a hard carry that provides a very easy positive kill-to-death ratio. Besides the character looking like a chick with guns, she's a monster. As a hard carry, you should easily be pulling massive scores and carrying your team to a win. Miss Fortune's passive, called Strut, makes this chick go fast. Due to this passive, Miss Fortune gains movement speed after not being damaged for 7 seconds. This increases all the way up to an additional 70 bonus movement speed. This passive allows for fantastic map mobility, the ability to dodge incoming skill shots easily, and it's amazing for chasing down your opponents. Even while laning, avoid taking any creep damage, and instead keep your passive speed maxed while running in and out, trying to get your last hits on minions. Miss Fortune's Q is called Double Up. It is the single target nuke that fires a single bullet to an enemy, but then ricochets to a nearby opponent behind the target. The second impact actually hits harder than the first, so this becomes both a form of harassment and our tricky way of hitting opponents hiding behind creeps or tanks. This ability stacks with our physical damage, and is our main damaging ability in a team fight. Miss Fortune's W is called Impure Shots. This ability passively deals magic damage to her target with each continuous auto attack stacking up to 4 times on the same target. It can be activated to both increase her attack speed and lower the healing and health regeneration of the target by 50%. This ability is fantastic for both dropping towers and killing those pesky healers. Miss Fortune's E is called Make It Rain. This ability shoots a flurry of bullets at a target circle location, dealing waves of damage to all targets within the area and slowing them. This ability actually stacks with AP and will not be a major form of damage due to our physical carry build of Miss Fortune, but what it can do is slow multiple targets and help us land both our Qs and our ultis for some real hurt. Miss Fortune's R is called Bullet Time. This ability channels a flurry of bullets into a cone in front of her, dealing massive amounts of damage to her enemies. This ability is the only reason I don't even consider a hybrid Miss Fortune build. It actually stacks with either your attack damage or your ability power. The ability can melt 5 opponents insanely quick, but it does lock you into a channel with a giant "Get her!" sign over your head. The range is amazing and does allow you to channel it over walls, so keep that in mind when engaging in late game team fights. For skilling order on Miss Fortune, obviously prioritize your ultimate every single time it's up. Otherwise, prioritize the Q, then your W, and finally your E. You do want to pick up 1 rank of Make It Rain pretty early for the utility it does provide. Let's go ahead and get onto the item build. Miss Fortune benefits heavily from hard-hitting attack damage items, but with the wide variety available, there are numerous ways to build her. Personally, I used to think Metamune was the staple item on Miss Fortune, but after playing against higher-ranked players, I have slowly shifted into a rushed Infinity Edge build, opposed to a higher survivability build. Taking a page out of the champion spotlights, I will now be presenting you with 2 very viable builds, but I do highly suggest the Infinity Edge route if you feel comfortable with this champion. No matter which route you do prefer, always start your game off with a Doran's Blade and a health pot. This helps immensely with staying in lane and farming. The minor lifesteal and the initial early game damage boost should help you with surviving, farming, and harassing your opponents. Upon your first base, I do suggest picking up an extra Doran's Blade or 2 on top of your basic boots. The Doran's Blades are extremely cheap for what they provide, and they allow you to farm a little bit more effectively while surviving earlier ganks with that massive amount of health. Now here's where the builds will differ, and there may be a few different reasons. I personally now will save up for my first BF sword, and then complete my Merc Treads, and then finish my IE. After the Infinity Edge, I will then pick up my Last Whisper, which helps immensely now that it stacks with abilities. Keeping red and green elixirs up at this point is key to your success, but after, you could build either a GA or a Bloodthirster for a little bit of survivability. If you feel like you're constantly behind and you feel you need help catching up, the other build may be more beneficial to you. Rushing a Manamune to progressively help your mana pool and attack damage so that you may constantly spam farm lanes is very viable. After the Manamune, pick up your Frozen Mallet for the constant slow and the major health boost, and then finally create a Bloodthirster. Although Bloodthirster is a creep farmed item, you can easily get your stacks without trying towards the end of a game. Another reason you may want to take the Manamune is lack of mana regen runes. If you do not own them, you will feel short mana very quickly in any team fight, and this item can help you immensely. The last thing on item builds that I'd like to stress is that as long as you build in the standard carry direction, you will have strong success if you play well. Keep in mind that every player has a different playstyle, and that playing to your strengths is important. Take these builds with a grain of salt. If these builds are not something you agree with, please voice your opinion in the comments section below, and help others that may like your build better. I am merely providing what I have found successful in order to help those looking for a little bit of guidance. For summoner spells, I suggest taking Ghost and Flash. Using both spells makes up for Miss Fortune's natural lack of escapes, but can also be used very aggressively. As you're not spec'd into the reduced cooldown reduction time on these in the utility tree, try to use them sparingly, as they may be the only thing stopping a perfectly executed gank on your high threat glass cannon of a champion. Cleanse is interchangeable with Flash for two different reasons. It now removes exhaust, and can help you out of those taunts such as Rammus or Galio. Recently in Ranked I've been running Cleanse and having far more success, but it is all personal preference. Now that all the basic guide information has been covered, we can address Miss Fortune gameplay. Early game, you want to try to grab mid lane, or even a 2v1. You are a great carry champion, and like other great carries, you need some badass items to strike fear into your opponents. She has incredible farming abilities, and is one of the best harassers in the game. Shooting her Ricochet can keep even some of the best solo lane champs at bay from their possible experience. Mid-game, you're going to want to try to hold on to red buff as best as possible to help in those ganks, and obviously be at as many team fights as you possibly can. Your passive speed allows you to quickly move from lane to lane, and be a threat on the entire map, but also do consider that you're an incredible pusher. If a majority of the other team shows up to gank a teammate on the far side of the map, just push as hard as you can to make them regret leaving your farming alone. You should be building towards some pretty pricey items, and this does kill two birds with one stone. Late game, you need to consider how squishy you are on Miss Fortune, and time your involvement in those large team battles very carefully. Like most range carries, keep yourself to the outside of the team fights, making sure that you're spamming your abilities. You are the carry, and you should be carrying your team to a win. Be there, or do not play the carry. Pick off the squishiest targets if possible, but make sure that you're not standing there idly at any point in time. Wait for the big ults to go down, and start mowing your opponents. Using your ult carefully can make or break an entire game. Miss Fortune is a ridiculously strong ranged champion, with an arsenal of very strong skills for you to utilize to help put some big wins on your record. She's very simple to pick up, but as with any champion, the more you familiarize yourself with her, the better you'll be. Good luck in all your games, and I hope that you are very fortunate to have high success with her.